Welcome to the lesson on mapping in Miss Westgard's class, and this is Antarctica. For all the maps in Miss Westgard's class, you'll remember that you'll get a direction sheet that looks something like this. And on this direction sheet, it will always give you a checklist. I want to focus now on some of the items that every map is going to have in geography. You'll see that there's a map checklist, and then there's a totals checklist. Totals, again, is an acronym for title, orientation, date, author, legend, source. That's what the T, the O, D, A, L, S. Each of those is always 5 points on a map, and so every map will have at least 30 points. So always make sure that you have all of these items. When we start off with the title, what is your map about? That is given to you as the topic of the map. This one happens to be, the title is going to say Antarctica, Physical and Resource. You don't need to put the word map on there because it is a map. Orientation, where is north? That simply is showing, at least at the bare minimum, an arrow pointing to the north of that map. The date, when was the map made? You can put down the date that you begin to make the map or the date that you finish the map. Either or is fine. Author. The author is who made the map. In other words, the author is you. You make sure to put your name on the map. Legend. What do the map symbols mean? A legend is always going to be on your map somewhere, and it's going to show us the symbols. For example, blue waves would mean water body or just water. A star might mean a capital. A dot might be a city. You need to tell the person reading the map what all the symbols and colors on your map represent. Keeping in mind that we want the map to look neat and clean. We don't want to clutter the map itself with a lot of writing of words and letters, so that's why we use symbols. And we have a legend to decode those symbols. Source. Where did you get the information in order to make the map? Now, for here, your source is going to simply be Geography textbook, page 669 to 673. Maybe you used a Rand McNally atlas. You would say Rand McNally atlas. This is like citing your source in research papers. So you need to tell us where you got the information to make the map, because we want to know that it's a legitimate source. You're not just making things up. Then on your map checklist here, I remind you several things. Color the coastlines blue. Now, if we take a look at Antarctica and keep this off to the side for the moment, when we color all the coastlines blue, we're saving our blue colored pencil. You don't need to color all the water blue, but you're going to take and you're going to make all the coastlines on all of your lakes, oceans, bays, rivers, even around the islands. You're going to show us where the land and the water meet. So when it says make your coastlines blue, that's what it means. The next thing on the map checklist, it says to draw in the mountains as upside down brown V's. Every single map, it's going to look like this. Here's an upside down V that's brown. And let's say the mountain range ran from the northwest to the southeast. So we would just draw it like that. Now, if we were to have to label those mountains, anytime you do writing, you do it with a pencil or a blue pen or a black pen. Don't use the brown colored pencil. You label the names of those mountains. Let's just make this up as Westgard Mountains. And so we would put the name of the mountains along where we drew in the approximate location of the mountains. M, T, S, period is an abbreviation you can use for mountains. So you can label, if it tells you to label and draw in, that's what you would do. Again, we would go over to our key or our legend on the other side here. And if you take a look, the key or legend on the left-hand side, we would actually draw in upside down brown V's. We would take our blue black ink pen or pencil, and we can just put the abbreviation here, MTS, for mountains. And we already know what the names of the mountains are because we looked over, and it's the Westgard Mountains. So that's how you would label mountains. And since we're here, we can go ahead and label this, make a little blue wave. And this is going to be water. Now a blue squiggly, like this, no, try not to make it look like a wave, but this would be a river. So we would label it as a river. Those are the main items you'll always have in your legends when you're doing maps for Mrs. Westgard. Getting back to our direction sheet now. If we take a look here, it says color all the coastlines blue. We showed you that when we took a look here. Now I'm just doing part of this map. You would have to do all of it. Mountains is upside down brown letter V's. Now the names of some oceans. On your direction sheet for Antarctica, if you take a look, it says draw in and label the following water bodies. The first one here is the Atlantic Ocean. After I look at my map on any of these pages up here, I see that the Atlantic Ocean is to the north and to the west of this continent on this view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in or write in the name Atlantic, capital letter A, Atlantic. We don't need to say ocean, it's not necessary, because the waves that we draw above and below this body of water is going to tell us it's a large body of water, and most people know that the Atlantic is an ocean. You can put an ocean if you want. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my checklist, and I'm going to check off that I did the Atlantic. So you see that there are some other oceans here, the Indian Ocean, the Pacific, the Ross Sea, and the Weddell Sea. You can label those in on your map as well in the same way that I showed you. Now this map happens to be an Antarctica physical resource map. Let's go back to our checklist first though. I've shown you how to put the blue colored pencil waves above and below the names of major water bodies. So your Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, the Ross Sea, and the Weddell Sea will all have those blue waves above and below the name after you've placed them on the map. Make sure that the first letters are always capitalized in those proper names. When we get to the letters of countries, or the names of countries, each letter is capitalized. Because that tells us when we look at the map, if the letter is all capitalized, that's the country name, as opposed to maybe you were also required to put in the capital of that country. You wouldn't capitalize all those letters, you would just capitalize the first letter. So it's kind of a trick that cartographers use to show the difference when you're looking on all these words on a map. Anything that's in all capital letters means country, and if it's not in all capital letters, it's either a city or capital itself. It says here also, trace in blue colored pencil all the rivers. To start with, I'll give you the rivers in black. on the worksheet, you'll just trace over it in blue colored pencil. And again, a reminder, name all physical landforms and other writing in blue ink, black ink, or regular pencil, and make sure to include the totals. On this map, since it's a resource map, there are some resources that you need to put on here. You need to show us in Antarctica where fish are located. Use a fish symbol. Your fish symbol can look something like this. The location of oil, an oil well symbol, is typically something that looks like this. And then if you go to the top right hand, the location of coal is a coal cart symbol. And the coal cart symbols, as shown in your book, are just like little boxes. Well, not boxes, but like trapezoids. And again, you're going to make sure to put these in your key on the map as well. So when I go over here to my key on the map, I'm going to put in something that looks like this. And I'm going to write that this means coal. I'm going to do my fish. This means fish. And then so you always put those symbols in. And then when I go back to my Antarctic map, I look at my page numbers that are at the top of the page, 669 to 673. If you go look for the map that says resource map, you're going to find the locations to place them. Now, you're not going to get them exact, but that's okay. What you're going to do is you're going to get it approximately in that area. So let's say there was a fish here. You would actually draw in your fish there. Maybe they showed you some fish were located down here, and there was some oil here. Those are just examples. That might not be really where they're at. So you'd actually place them on the map, put them in your key, and make sure that after you've done all of that and everything is complete, you go and you check these off. This checklist is for you so that you get all the points possible. On here you also see that there's landforms. There's the Antarctic Peninsula, the Trans-Antarctic Mountains, the Ron Ice Shelf, the Ross Ice Shelf, and the Vinson Massif. The Vinson Massif is actually a single mountain peak. Find that on one of the maps, and the universal symbol for those mountain peaks are these triangles that are filled in. You'll see that on the map in your textbook. If you go back then to your key, rather than writing Vinson Massif and cluttering up the map, you're going to have a symbol over here, and since there's only one of these, we can actually label it Vinson Massif in the key. It makes it much easier to read. Vinson Massif. And then we place it on the Antarctic map itself. We keep as much writing off the actual map itself as possible. On the ice shelves, you'll notice for this map, it's a very unique map because it's Antarctica and we don't have a lot of ice shelves on the other maps that we'll do this year. But the ice shelves, you can determine how you want to label it. Maybe you want to label it specifically on the map or come up with some color. Maybe you choose an orange. You color the ice shelf, the Ron ice shelf, orange, and then over here in your symbol, or your legend, you have an orange splotch, or let's say maybe it was green. You would just come over here and make a green box, and again, labeling, and blue or black ink pencil, or pen, the Ron ice shelf. And I look at my map, and I take that green color and I put wherever it is on the actual Antarctic map. Sometimes you'll have some other things to label as well. Here you've got the South Pole and the Antarctic Circle. The Antarctic Circle is actually 66 and 1/3 degrees south latitude. You're actually going to have to find out approximately where that Antarctic Circle lies. And you can actually write on it right here, draw an arrow, Antarctic Circle, or, yes, you can put it in the key and then label it Antarctic Circle. You want to keep your writing as neat as possible. You want to keep everything as clean and easily read as possible on the map. The South Pole, maybe you just want to do this. Instead of writing South Pole on the map, you just put an X, you go over here, and that's the South Pole. Now make sure you find the South Pole on the map in the textbook before you place it, because it might not be here where I just put it. Then when you're done, you go through, make sure everything's checked off that needs to be checked off. We need to work on our totals next. Title, orientation, date, author, legend, source. You'll notice at the top of the page on these first few maps, I will give you the places I want you to put the title. The title for this Antarctic map is Antarctica Physical Resource. So we would actually write Antarctica. Now this is in the box, you don't see it on the video here. Antarctica Physical and Resource. Capitalize the first letter of the title. There. Easy 5 points. Make sure you capitalize that. Orientation, where is north? So down here, if this is where north is, I'm going to draw an arrow, and that's the bare minimum, is showing north. If you want to put the other intermediate and cardinal directions in, you can. The date, well, when did you start making it? You can put that in the date box. Author is your name. Source, we're not going to have to say hold, people, places, and change, page 669 to 673. You can simply put geography textbook or just textbook and then the page number. So right now what I want you to do is go through. I want you to go and start working on this map. I'm going to put a few more examples and leave them up on the overhead here. And if you have any questions, let me know.